And my name is Jessica, for anyone here who I don't know. I'm just going to facilitate our panel today. And the reason this panel came about is I just felt like it was so interesting to see what had happened this past year with drop-in programming, because for many years we've really moved so much more towards managed enrollment and organizing groups. And then this past year, there's been a real need and a role for finding new and different ways to engage students. And so there's been a lot of new drop-in programming developed, and some of the ideas have been so creative. So we're going to hear from a panel. We'll hear from Victoria, Antonio, and Susan, and then we'll have time to talk with everyone else. So my plan is I'm going to introduce all three of our panelists, and then after each one does their presentation, we can check in if there's any questions in the chat, or if anyone wants to unmute and ask a question about their presentation. And then after all three, we'll have time for conversation and to hear other ideas that you guys have had happening in your programs. We'll have lots of time at the end for that. And then at the very end, I have to give you the link to the workshop eval. And I'm saying that now because my timing has been a little slow on that. And I think I've lost some people. So if I don't do that, someone has to shout at me, put that eval in there, because it's really helpful for us to have those. Okay, so I am going to introduce everyone to get us started. So Victoria Hilditch. Sorry, Victoria, I said that badly. Victoria Hilditch is the coordinator of the Ridgewood Library ESL program. She's been with the library since 2013. During this time, she's expanded the program to include other initiatives and classes to help ESL students feel more settled and secure in the community. The library's added an ESL book club, cultural English, American slang, coffee breakouts, idioms with Janine, and a new ESL YouTube channel. The program realizes and promotes that these individuals need to learn more than just the English language, and there are different ways to learn through books, films, conversation, and more. Our second panelist also joined his program in 2013. Antonio worked for the state of New Jersey for 30 years in special and correctional education. And when he retired, he volunteered first as a tutor with Project Literacy of Greater Bergen County. And then in 2013, he was hired and became responsible for tutor training and all educational aspects of the organization. During the pandemic, he has ensured that his students and tutors could meet virtually on a regular basis. Antonio says he looks forward to meeting with students and tutors in a three-dimensional manner and not on a flat screen. I think we're really looking forward to that. Susan Engelstein is the Program and Events Manager at Literacy Volunteers of Somerset County. She's been associated with LVSC for over 20 years as a tutor and a conversation group leader before joining their staff. She has a BA from Vassar College and a master's from NYU in English and creative writing. She worked for many years as a publicist for major book publishing companies before choosing to stay at home with her children. Then coming to us. So, okay, I am going to turn this over to Victoria as our first panelist, and I will grab her PowerPoint here and share that.
Thank you. Guys. Okay, all set?
Good.
Thank you, Jessica. And thanks for the nice introduction for all of us.
Whoops.
I did that.
Oh, women.
Victoria.
Okay,
I did that to you. I'm so sorry.
That's okay. Okay, so I think everybody can hear me, and we'll start over. Thanks for that, Jessica. And I'm pleased to be here and how everybody has had to transition and speak about that and pivot their ESL programs. I'd like to give a little bit of background about ours because I think no two programs are alike. And so if you can just indulge me for, just a moment, that we are a tutor-based program. We offer one-to-one for beginners, small groups for our intermediate, and on up to about 6. Nothing's too large for conversation groups for our most advanced students. So I think these are manageable size groups for our volunteer tutors. We feel that the higher your English level, having more people in the group creates a richer environment and for listening and speaking. We also offer 2 classes from my colleague, and her name is Victoria Schnorr. That is Everyday English, which is for high beginners students, that teaches the essentials in reading, writing, speaking, and listening. Cultural English is for our most advanced students, and in this class, students explore creative expression through various cultural lenses, such as literature and film. And as Jessica said in the introduction, we do like to promote the whole person, that it's not just the English language, that they need a lot of help settling. And so I'll speak more about that in a minute. So within a short amount of time of the library closing in 2020, we recognized that our students were feeling very isolated. They were not having the opportunities to speak English and be exposed to English on a regular basis. And so we knew we had to get our program up, and we began offering our Everyday English and Cultural English over Zoom. We had a number of tutors that were launching into it as well. So we wanted to encourage and support them of anything, if it was possible, to meet with their students over Zoom. But we also, with regards to that isolation, we felt that they needed more. But maybe to bring it in a more relaxed way, that in addition to the tutoring, how can they have English in a more relaxed and fun way? And as with all of us, we were going through a lot on our plates. People were working from home, their children were going to school remotely, and there was a pandemic. And so we wanted to keep things not as much pressure, light. And this is when we began our ESL book group, American Screen Slang, and Idioms with Janine, who is here today. Thank you, Janine. We have tweaked American Screen Slang since then to become American Slang, and we've now added our ESL Coffee Breakout, Breakout being a take on the Zoom where it's the breakout rooms. These are drop-in. You still have to register to get the Zoom invitation, but they are just on a week-to-week basis. You can come in and out as need be, as your schedule allows. And that's what we were trying to keep it a little casual, so the students didn't have to make a long-term commitment. It's a come when you can approach. So those are what launched our new way of thinking. Let's see, Jessica, the next slide, please. So with most of us have drop-in conversation groups, and I just wanted to give you here some of the websites that we'll use. If you feel like you need a structure to it, go to these sites, Fluent U and Hope Link Talk Time, that they give lots of ideas of topics that you can have, and you can see on the slide there that they have different discussion topics. The next slide, please. So then we began Idioms with Janine. We continually hear from our students and tutors that the students want more idioms, slang, and I think most of us probably don't realize how much we speak in this way in our day-to-day lives. And so that Janine came up with this idea, and we thought of presenting it in a video format. And she has really risen to the challenge of how unique that she presents these videos. They're fun and innovative, and each one is just, over a minute, and they're short clips, and it includes the origins and both literal and figurative meanings of the idioms. And it's a very amusing approach, and it's all of our students, no matter what the level, can get something out of it. So, and you see on here some of the ones that she has done. They are all on our Ridgewood Library ESL YouTube channel that we have them there. Jessica, the next slide, and we have a sample of what Janine's done.
I would see you again today is music to my ears. Music to my ears. This is an expression that dates back to the 1800s. We use it today to describe something that we're very happy to hear. Good news. So for instance, my friend Jean may say that he got a promotion at work, and I might reply, music to my ears, meaning great news, good to hear, I'm so happy for you. Or Susie may tell me that she's moving home and I'll get to see her regularly. I'm so happy about this, I might say, that's music to my ears. You're graduating? You're having a baby? You're moving to another house? Wow, wonderful news. It's music to my ears. Music to my ears. Something that you're very happy to hear. Something that's pleasant. Good news. Music to my ears.
So you can go ahead and go to the next slide. And you can see that we love Eric Clapton. As you can, and they are just so innovative. And this is especially helpful, I think, for people, their level of English is high, but then we speak using the words out of context of things, and it can be quite confusing. So that we get a lot of enjoyment, and it's a fun thing to do. So as you can see, she has got Friendship, New Jersey, oh wait, sorry, I'm jumping ahead now of, this is the class she's leading, but she's done some great things. The next one is American Slang, which we tweaked from American Screen Slang. That Janine, when we started, she began with an idea of showing American film clips that use unique American slangs and phrases. Each week, the class would watch clips and then come together and talk about, to decipher the meaning of what the clips meant, such as, and you can see Coming to America, Sandlot, and Footloose. In Coming to America, it was the New York slang, and speaking about being a new immigrant, which of course our ESL students could relate to, the emotions and memories of doing that. Sandlot, 1960s slang and sports slang, and then American traditions such as baseball on the 4th of July. Footloose was rural versus urban settings, and Southwest slang. So it was, she picked out very unique American films that could help with this. We then tweaked it in the fall. We began it, started it as American Slang. And you can see over on the left side of the screen, there's Friendship, New Jersey, and Travel. That are some great ideas. So it's specific slang, informal expressions, and idioms that we use. It's a very, very upbeat, fun, relaxed, and is welcoming to all students. We get, 8 or 9 or up to 10 in the class each time, and it's a lot of fun. The next slide, please. We, once again, were thinking of, we spoke for quite some time about an ESL book group, but we just couldn't figure out how to launch it. And with the shutdown and wanting to offer more, we just said, we just have to do this. And this is a group that I lead. And we offered as an 8-week class period, as the same thing that we do with our everyday English and cultural English. Our program runs from September until May, and we thought that might be a really long commitment. So we break it up into 8-week sessions, and typically we read 2 books each session. The students will read 2 chapters at home. I will send out specific discussion questions. And if there's any type of language, idiom, slang that we need to go over to explain, we then come together at the meeting once a week and discuss what was read at home. We will then read aloud together in class, which I think they enjoy that the most, and they find that very, very valuable to read aloud. My goal, as I say, I think with all of our tutors, let's hear the students speak as much as possible. So I try to give, once I put out the question, I try to sit back and let them interact with each other, and they're very, very supportive. The group averages anywhere from 6 to 10, so everyone has a chance to speak. And so these are a number of the books that we've read, and they feel very proud of the number of books that they're reading in English. Next slide, please. Our latest thing that we have introduced is called Coffee Breakout. Once again, this was something else. I think our students feel isolated anyway, have always trying to get into the community, but even more so while we're at home. And so this was kind of, we had always spoken, could we have a coffee club or something, get together for the students to socialize, make friends with others, practice using their English in a relaxed setting. And my colleague, Victoria Schnorr, came up with this. And so she puts them in breakout rooms, and it's just an opportunity to meet in small groups. She will have an initial question or something for them to talk about, but then it's up to them to continue the conversation. And so this is some samples, and she'll pop around to the groups, but she just wants to make certain they're flowing well, and she doesn't want to intervene too much. She just wants to, but see if they need any help or support doing that. Next slide. As I mentioned at the beginning, we have come up almost with a whole person approach. We realize it's not just the language that this particular group of people could be needing help with. They're new to Bergen County, Ridgewood, the United States. And so that to help them settle, so we just say they need more than the language. So we work with our local community, our school system. We go and present there, and we say, you help the students, we'll take care of the parents. We have a Be Prepared series with the police, fire, and hospital that we have set up so that people can, local laws and procedures. Do I have to stop at crosswalks? When do I dial 911? Will someone be able to speak my language if they do? What should I do if the police pull me over? What kind of ID should I have on me? And the same kind of thing when you go to a hospital, what could they expect when they enter an ER? We meet with the Chamber of Commerce to see if there's anything we can do for local businesses and their employees. And every year we have USCIS, Citizenship and Immigration, come because we always have students who are interested in naturalization. So Kelly Ayala, which I believe she's presenting here as well, she does a fantastic job. Next slide, please. We've had great feedback. I know some of our students have got, a number of us, I'm sure, have Zoom fatigue. But as we say, this is all we can offer right now. And so we are working hard to keep everyone engaged. I even know the local schools, I think, are opening back up for in-person with the students. So people's schedules have changed as well. But we appreciate the feedback that we're getting with everyone. I think I encourage us all just to collaborate. I think be innovative, especially you've had to be this past, over year. Brainstorm with your colleagues, and we've gotten ideas from our tutors and students because the tutors are hearing more of what the students need. So I think my thing is this year has forced us to be creative and think outside the box. And I believe we should all be very proud that we're connecting with our students and, providing valuable programs. I hope this gives you some ideas, and I can't wait to hear about what some of the things you're doing. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Victoria.
Sure.
And sorry for muting you. I made a dumb mistake because I always do. And maybe that was my one for this time. But thanks so much. It was really exciting to hear about all those different things. And I know someone asked a question in here, so we have one to start off. We got some love for Janine's idiom clip.
Thank you.
Okay, here's the first question. Are there copyright issues with showing movie clips to groups?
No, Janine, where are you pulling these film clips up?
Off of YouTube.
So if it's in, could that be almost like, you know, if it's on YouTube, can you do it? And if you're doing clips in you know, a classroom or something like that, I don't believe so.
That makes sense to me. It seems
Yeah,
like
yeah, if
something
you
on
can
YouTube
access
is
it, I
fair
think,
game.
and you're, right, right.
Okay, Maureen asked, what time of day do you have the book club and the movie clips? And you guys also are very welcome to unmute yourselves and ask too.
The book group meets at 1 o'clock on Tuesday afternoon, so in the middle of the day, and we had started that when in the fall, so people were at home more, but it seems to work.
Rebecca's wondering how you pick the books for the book club.
There are going, they're, you know, even Googling ESL book club book groups. You can get that. I want to make certain that there are books that have good book discussion guides, such as The Giver had a lot of information for me, and because of Winn-Dixie, you can find that. So they are in our, I would say children's, but young adult, you know, and they've all had good topics. Even there's Jackie and Me by Dan Gutman, and that deal with Jackie Robinson integrating into the National Football League. So they've all been some weighty topics. What I think one thing I do try to do, and especially while we were closed, is make certain they can get the books on Hoopla as well. If people were not comfortable coming into the library or wanted an ebook, so I've tried to make certain to have that option.
That's the library app, right?
Yes. But I will order all the books though for the students too, so they can come to the library to pick up, but some of them definitely like the ebooks. Some will still purchase, but I make certain that I can get them because they want to dog ear the pages and mark them up, they say.
So another question about your book clubs. Have you ever done something with reading aloud, like helping parents learn how to read aloud to their kids?
No. I don't know if that would be right. And we could, you know, that would be something, because I would say this book group has been at the high intermediate to advanced level, but maybe there would be something that we could do for our, you know, more beginner students that would like something like that. So that's a great idea.
It seems like we have a nice opportunity to do that right now, right? When everyone's together. Has anyone else done anything like that this past year? It's a good one. Okay, we have any other questions for Victoria? All right, thank you so much, Victoria.
Thank you, everybody. I'm going to mute myself.
Okay. I'm going to turn it over to Antonio for our next presentation. Don't freeze.
No, I know the Mac is working much better than the PC, I think.
Okay, good.
In good shape. Good afternoon to everyone. I recently became aware of a new term, Blur's Day. When people ask what day of the week it is, it's Blur's Day, because all of our time has mixed into one, and we can't tell the days of the week anymore. And it's especially difficult for the students because they don't have a lot of English interaction. So it's a bigger problem for them, I think. And I remember distinctly on March 13th, we were called into the office because we're housed in Bergen Community College in Hackensack. They give us space, and they told us the program was shutting down and we didn't know what to do. I think they gave us 2 days to come and get what we needed before we were ultimately no longer allowed in the building. This was middle of March. So here we were with 100 tutors, 125 students, and we didn't know what to do. So as usual, we were concerned about our tutors' families and our students. So we immediately came up with some virtual ideas. Zoom, of course, Duo, which is another online, sort of like WhatsApp. We gave lots of options to our students and tutors so they could continue to meet. Some of the tutors were absolutely positive, wonderfully interested in virtual. Others wanted nothing to do with it. Nothing. And it's funny because one of the two people that wanted nothing to do with virtual teaching changed their mind, and now they're both doing virtual. So it's sort of a come around. In addition, what we also did is we asked our tutors if they were interested in teaching classes. And the classes, because we were never allowed to offer classes because we're in Bergen community, we would be in competition. So we only always had one-on-one. Now we can do classes. So some of the classes that we started were History of the Women's Movement, Introduction to US Citizenship, English Conversation and Enrichment, and current events. But we also offer a class in an intermediate, beginning, and advanced English. And we were going to offer a class on yoga for the students and the tutor, but just as sort of a breakaway. And the lady that was going to teach the class developed COVID, has not quite recovered yet. So that will be in the future. I lead a coffee hour and a cocktail hour, for lack of a better term, at 10 o'clock in the morning and 5 o'clock in the morning. And it's not 5 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the evening. Sorry about that. And it's just an open conversation where the students come and the tutors come. Some of the students can ask questions and they can get various opinions, such as an idiomatic expression, how to explain that. And it's funny, one of the questions that we talked about is idiomatic expressions in their language. And a lot of them are similar, very similar to ours. Little different wording, but it works. And in some of our classes, we also offer math for HSE, high school equivalency. We are getting students that call in from Japan, Dominican Republic, Colombia, and 2 students from Paris. Those students were in the United States and are trying to come back, but they're not able to right now. So they're still on our mailing list, so they call in. Last year, I inherited a group of approximately 15 to 20 doctors from Turkey whose English was not that good. So, you know, that's when we could interview people and have people evaluated. And what happened is I got a sense that they wanted to read great American novels. So I thought, okay, let's see how we can do this. And the first one, if you Google great American novels or great American literature, generally the first one comes up is To Kill a Mockingbird, or one of the first ones that comes up. And I thought to myself, how am I going to get 20 doctors to read To Kill a Mockingbird? You know, it's a different language, it's a different time, it's Southern. So what I was thinking and thinking and thinking, and I eventually decided, well, I guess I could find condensed versions like Reader's Digest books or something like that. But then I remember my 9th grade English teacher saying to me, Reader's Digest books, condensed books, are for people with condensed minds. So I nixed that. So what I finally came up with was a movie group. So since March of 2020, we have watched approximately 53 different movies. And we started with To Kill a Mockingbird. And we decide on the movie, and then we wait a week, and then we meet and we have a discussion. Initially, I was being very careful about how I planned the discussion and, you know, looking for specific questions that to guide it. But what happened is I think they did not like the formal part of that. They wanted more spontaneous conversation and normal everyday conversation. So that's what we did. So we started with To Kill a Mockingbird, and we've done most of the movies the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, some of the 70s, some current, some. One reason I started with the old, as they call them, gray films, not the black and white ones, is because the diction was better, the acting was clearer, and they could understand better. So we started with that. Of course, they also using subtitles, so that helps them a lot. One of the first things we always do is, we have our usual general conversation. What did you do? How did you do? What did you do last week? And then we start with, did you like the movie? Did you not like the movie, and why? And then that leads to a whole group of conversation. And one of the doctors, where our names are on here, he adds his name of one of the characters that he liked in the film. So of all the movies that we've liked, all the movies that we watched, they did not like Raiders of the Lost Ark, and I did not like The Matrix. But other than that, we are giving pretty standard. We also evaluate the movies based on the plot, the acting, the settings, and everything. And all of us really enjoyed 2001: A Space Odyssey, which was it's older than The Matrix, but that movie seemed less dated than The Matrix did. At Halloween, we watched Dracula. They enjoyed that greatly. And then at Christmas time, we watched It's a Wonderful Life, and they told me they cried when they saw that. And It's a Wonderful Life, A Christmas Story, they enjoyed greatly as well. One of the most difficult movies that we had to watch was Gone with the Wind. They knew about the Civil War, but they didn't quite understand the Civil War. So what we did is we watched it, and it's like 3.5 hours. It's quite a lengthy movie. And one of their biggest questions was Mammy. Who is Mammy? What is her role in this adventure of this family, or this tragedy of this family? And it was very difficult for me to try to explain that in language that they would understand. I mean, they understood slave, but they didn't understand she had a more elevated position because she was in the house. So that provoked a lot of thought and a lot of conversation. So that was quite interesting. We only watch English movies made in English, either British or American, or it could be something else as long as it's in English, simply because of the language. However, we did watch 3 foreign films. We watched Cinema Paradiso, which they told me they cried. That also gives them a way of, they have to read, because obviously it's in Italian. And then we watched Diabolique, because that movie was rated, or they said about that movie, it was the best movie that Alfred Hitchcock did not make. So we watched that. That's in French, because we watched a lot of Alfred Hitchcock movies, and they like Ingrid Bergman now. They're Ingrid Bergman fans. And one of the other movies that we watched, non-English movie, was Miracle in Cell 7. It's a Turkish movie. However, if you're going to watch it, you make sure that you watch the Turkish version and not the Korean version. The Korean version is more of a comedy. The Turkish version is more of a serious, lighthearted movie. It's quite good. Since we've done 50 movies, I'm sure we will continue doing this even when the pandemic is over. We plan on meeting in the park sometime when I think pretty much everyone's vaccinated, and just doing a movie in person, because they're tired of everybody being flat. I would say that we have not selected absolutely the best movies to watch, but there's always some merit to it, because they get to see American life either historically or contemporarily. Probably one of the next things we will try to do is watch Oscar films, Oscar winning films or Oscar nominated films. And one of the, if you do, also am very careful that we select movies that they can find for free. I don't want them paying $3.99 to rent it. So we usually use Netflix or Amazon Prime, or sometimes YouTube will offer the movie with breaks in it. Obviously Netflix and Amazon Prime, it's straight through. There's also something called Cinema HD, which is something that you can load onto your Fire Stick or your smart television or your smart phone or tablet, and it allows you to stream movies. And some of the movies are currently in the theater right now. I don't know the legality of it. I'm just saying it's there. And sorry, I'm losing my voice. So that's what that would be our next group of films that we do, Oscar nominated and Oscar winners. And probably what prompted that is Oscars are Monday night. So we will try to watch those. They have a good time. They eat, they drink coffee. Actually, they don't. They drink tea every time we have our meetings, and everybody seems to enjoy it. And we have, sometimes we're an hour, sometimes we're an hour and a half, depending on how engaged they become. And it's a great way for them to practice receptive language, expressive language, and written language if we decide to write a movie review. So they're getting everything, auditory, visual, tactile. So, and it becomes part of their language. And a lot of their goals is to know more about American life. One of the doctors, when he was going for an interview for his residency program, they do role play. And one of the things that they asked this particular doctor, the patient comes in and says, doctor, I'm dragging today. And he had no idea what that meant. And for us, we know exactly what it means. So we've done a lot of role play in addition to the movies, because there's actually, I have about 70 or 80 different medical scenarios that I can interact with them, teaching them, how to call somebody into the waiting room when there's a gender issue. So it's things like that they don't understand, and we're working all of that, but mostly we're doing the movies. That's it. Any questions?
Thank you, Antonio. I would kind of like to be a student in each of the two programs we heard from, right? I kept thinking, like, this sounds fun, like they really take care of me, we do all these good activities. Okay, Susan pointed out Canopy is a free way to watch
Okay.
movies through libraries without a charge.
I forgot about that one. Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Antonio, so these people, your students will watch the movie on their own. Like
Correct.
You'll say, like maybe every Monday night, you watch it on your own from your house or your device.
Correct.
And then you meet
Correct.
at a later date, and that's when you have the discussion.
Correct. We meet right now we're meeting on Sundays at 2:00 because it's Ramadan.
Yes, okay.
Normally we meet Sunday evening.
Okay, got it.
We just have a discussion and we decide on the movie before. I was asking them to pick movies, but they didn't want to, so they asked me to do it. So as I said, we've done approximately 53 movies. Next week movie is My Cousin Vinny.
I love it.
Because I wanted to give them a variety. I mean, we've done Apollo 13 and E.T. and oops. And so that sort of thing, we've done that. So we've had a good time. And as I said previously, the only two movies we disagreed about was The Matrix and the first Indiana Jones movie. I don't know why.
I don't understand that. I can't understand that. But if they don't like My Cousin Vinny, these students have to go. Right. Raiders of the Lost Ark, maybe only certain people like that, but my cousin Vinny,
Right.
they had to like it.
Yeah.
And what also we watched was Sleepy Hollow back in October. I'd forgotten about that. And they actually went to Sleepy Hollow in New York to kind of get the feel. And it was in October, so they kind of got that atmosphere. You know, it was obviously it's very different now, but they were able to see where Sleepy Hollow was located. And there's a shop in one of the, I've forgotten what town it is there, and you can buy all the Sleepy Hollow merchandise. So one of them bought a Sleepy Hollow mug.
That's neat. That's
So it was fun. We had Wizard of Oz, they liked a great deal as well.
nice.
But with the Wizard of Oz, when it turns into color, they thought the film was defective in the
Oh.
beginning. And that was also a point of discussion where I had to tell them it's not a defect, it's an effect. They wanted you to understand the dull world that Dorothy lived in. And then all of a sudden she's in Oz and it's all wonderful and colorful. Any other questions?
Antonio, I just wanted to say that Oscars are Sunday night, not Monday. I
What?
don't want you to miss them.
Oh, good. I was going to watch it Monday night. Thank you. I know they're coming. I just didn't know the day. I also have a list, if anybody wants it, of the movies that we watched. So and I'm one of these people that believes in cut and paste and not reinventing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've had success with these movies. So it's interesting. It was an interesting journey with the students, I can tell
Had
you.
the students watch these movies
No,
before? Like they hadn't seen The Wizard of Oz in their own country?
no, not in Turkey, no. That may be considered sorcery. I'm not sure. I don't know. But no, they have never seen Gone with the Wind. We did also watch Murder on the Orient Express, the new one with Kenneth Branagh, because the first 20 minutes of it takes place in Istanbul.
Yeah.
We were able to see, because these students cannot go back. They are considered asylum seekers. If they would go back, they would be put in jail.
Okay.
One of the doctors was in jail, and another one of the doctors here, the authorities came knocking on his apartment door, and the video camera, his uncle sent him the video camera asking him to come back because they wanted to question him.
Wow.
But he said, no, I can't come back right now, because if they did, they would be put in jail. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Any other questions? I believe I wanted them to make the movie club or movie group and our conversations group less formal and more interactive and more of everyday common English speaking activities. And it seems to have worked good, probably pretty good, I guess.
Sounds really nice having a conversation group with tutors and students together, getting together. I feel like we do those things separately a lot, those different kinds of support.
Right. Yeah.
Susan was asking how many people attend each week. I'm guessing the movie.
Usually it's about 8. I mean, which group, Susan? The classes or the movie group?
For your movie discussion.
About 6 or 8, sometimes 10, depending on what their schedule is. Because fortunately, many of them have begun their residency, so their time has become less fluid. But I do have a core of about 4 that show up every time. And it's men and women. So we have Turkish doctors and male doctors and female doctors. And right now it's going to be a little less because of Ramadan, because they're busy with their holidays.
Interesting.
Thank you, Antonio. That sounds like a really nice experience for everyone and a good way to get through this year.
Yes.
Yeah.
We enjoy it.
All right, I'm going to turn it over to Susan, our final panelist.
Thank you, Jessica. And I'm very happy to have the opportunity to be on this panel, mostly because I get to wear lipstick for the first time in a year. I've been coming to this conference for a really long time, even before I was working at LVSC, when I was just a humble tutor and conversation group leader. So I'm happy to be here. Literacy Volunteers of Somerset County is incredibly proud of our conversation group program. We started 11 years ago with just one group meeting at the Hillsborough Library. And we have grown and expanded, and till we had 13 groups meeting at 9 different libraries. Some groups meet during the day, some in the evening, so that we can reach students who are working and who are not working. We have over 100 students that take advantage of the program. Now, this program has always been a drop-in program. Students could register at the libraries, but they didn't have to, and most didn't. They were advertised through the library, through our website, but mostly they spread through word of mouth, students telling other students about it. We eventually organized them into 3 10-week programs. So we have a fall group, a winter group, and a spring group. This allowed us to give the leaders a little time off in between, but some of the leaders don't even take it, and the groups run the whole way through September through June. So these are not classes, they are real conversation groups. They're less formal, more social, more fun, and all the leaders have their own style, and every group is a little bit different. So some will read an article together and discuss it, watch a video. Some are much more hands-on. Some are very planned out. Some are just speaking. I can tell you, like, one example is a group would, the discussion would be about visiting a doctor. And so first they would give out vocabulary about different doctors, a cardiologist, a pediatrician, and then they would divide the group into 3 and they would play acts. So one person would be the doctor, one would be the receptionist, one would be the patient, and then they would take turns playing that. When I led a conversation group in Bound Brook Library, I did something where I had a stack of cards on a table with all kinds of different things that the students had to come up and act out, maybe being pulled over by the police or asking a neighbor for a cup of sugar, making a haircut appointment. So as you can imagine, this can be a lot of fun and a lot of laughter. And we just think that if there's laughter, there's learning. So our conversation groups became very, very popular. And it allowed us to do a number of really wonderful things. Number one, we could reach so many students. Number two, we could give our tutor and students one-on-one another opportunity for their students to practice English. So we encourage them to have their students also join a conversation group if appropriate. Sometimes we had waiting lists for students to get a one-to-one tutor, so we could send them immediately to the conversation group, so they didn't have to wait to start doing something. And then also, some students who came to us really didn't need the one-on-one tutoring because they were higher level, so we could send them straight to a conversation group and save the one-to-one tutoring for the students that were more in need of it. And these groups really appeal to the students, and especially being drop-in programs, because they didn't have to commit to it. They weren't scared off by the fact that it wasn't a class. There was no pressure to attend each week. If their schedule changed, they didn't have to feel guilty about it. If they weren't happy with the leader, they could try another group. So that's how our program works. Now, of course, there are 2 main disadvantages to having a drop-in program. One is that you get students of mixed levels, and that can be difficult. Our groups say that they're for high beginner above, but they're mostly geared to intermediate, high intermediate, low advanced. So we sometimes will get students that are not really ready for the group. Sometimes they'll just want to continue and sit in and listen more. And sometimes they self-select out of the group. The other disadvantage is the leader never knows every week how many people will come, right? Sometimes it's 15, the next week could be 6, the next week could be 9. And that can be very frustrating for the leader. But what we found is that we just have to have the right leaders, and the leaders have to be flexible and relaxed about it. And some of our tutors can't handle that, and so they do the one-to-one tutoring, and some of our leaders just love it. So it's also just given our tutors different opportunities to choose what works best for them with the tutoring program. Yeah, we have, the conversation group. Sometimes the students walk in a little late, or they have a baby on their lap, or they, different situations. So that the leaders just have to be able to kind of go with the flow. But I have to say that our conversation group leaders, they report that they absolutely love it. And they have so much fun. Sometimes there's a line of students after the class waiting to just talk to them personally, one-to-one, to get their advice. I know when I was running my group, people wanted to know where I went, what restaurant I went to, where I got my shoes I was wearing. Every aspect of my life they were interested in. So when we, I wanted to say that also joining the conversation group gave the students a lot of agency, right? Because we weren't placing them in a group or telling them this is where they should go. They had to choose the group themselves. They had to join it. They had to participate in it, and they had to add to the discussion. And we have had an incredible outcome that we didn't expect. What we found is that the students formed a community. They, many of our students attend more than one group. In fact, some of our students attend every single day a different group. And they came to have a comfort level with each other and a comfort level with the leaders. And they came to know each other, be friends with each other, and help each other. Some students started taking walks together after the group. Some had lunch together. Some shared holidays together. They got to know each other on a personal level. Some of them felt so safe in the group that they could share personal stories about being confused by the English language that everybody else nodded and agreed with, or maybe facing struggles here that other people could also relate to, even sharing heartbreak, good news, but also heartbreak. And they really found a group together. These conversation groups have become avenues for our students to make friends and to mitigate their feelings of loneliness and isolation and fear. Now for LVSC, this also became a way for us to bring additional programming to the students. So we were able to send speakers to the groups to talk about health literacy, financial literacy. We had somebody from Somerset County Transportation talk about bus routes and bicycle safety. We had a school nurse talk about when you should send your kids to school and when they should stay home. We had someone from Healthier Somerset speaking to the students about healthy eating, cooking with fresh vegetables. We were also able to call on this core group of students, and they became what we're calling our student outreach committee. And we're using them to reach out to other students to do different activities. And one of them that has been extremely successful is we now have a student newsletter, which is completely created by our students. It's an online newsletter. They have 5 issues out already. The last one was about what sites you should see if you're visiting their home country. So we had 18 articles submitted along with pictures, some poems, some memories. And it was just a wonderful, wonderful program that the students are doing completely on their own. We're emailing it out to all our students. So even the students that didn't participate, they might be reading it together with their one-to-one tutor and using it as a study guide for that week's program. When the libraries closed and we all went home and stayed home, we thought maybe that was the end of our conversation groups. But one of our leaders immediately got his students up on Zoom. They didn't even miss a week. And so we reached out to our other conversation group leaders, and most of them were in, some were not, but most were. And we were really very quickly able to get our conversation groups up and running. in addition, since the pandemic started, we have 3 new people running conversation groups. So we now have 10 virtual groups meeting. Some in the morning, some in the afternoon, some in the evening. They get about 8 to 15 students attending each week. And since the start of the pandemic, we've had 140 students participating in these groups. Now, you all know that Zoom offers some advantages. We don't have to worry about the weather. We don't have to worry about students who don't have cars or drive. We don't have to worry about parking difficulties at some of the libraries. Most of our regular students in these conversation groups are easily able to get on Zoom, though some of them use a smartphone. And some of our tutors who didn't go virtual, their students are now have joined the group so that they have been able to get something else instead. And, we had some issues at first where everybody had to learn together, right? How to put their camera on and mute themselves and unmute themselves. But by this point, all our groups are sharing screen and sharing video and doing breakout rooms and annotating on the whiteboard. So it's very, very impressive. It's not an absolute drop-in program because as you've heard from the others, people have to register for what group they want, and then the leader sends them the Zoom link. But it's still essentially a drop-in program because these links are being shared among family and friends, and you never really know from week to week who's going to be there. As the other speakers mentioned, everybody has experiencing a lot of loneliness and isolation during this pandemic. And so we also try to think of ways that we could engage our students and brighten their days. And so we tried to think of some out-of-the-box programming. We also have been running book clubs. We were, one of our board members donated books to us, and we started a few book clubs over the summer. We are actually giving out those books. So the students are driving to outside our office. I've been outside handing the book to them through the car window, so very safely. And then, so we have a couple of book clubs going. And we've just been offered, the book Wonder, Because of Winn-Dixie, Tuesdays with Maury, Seed Folks. One of our groups just did a biography of Malala. And so these are just really wide-ranging conversations that they're having on lots of different subjects, as diverse as losing a pet, sexual abuse, the war in Afghanistan, and the students are really, really happy to have the book and read the book and discuss that together. We also have a coffee group that we had with one of our conversation groups, became a coffee club, where it was meeting on Friday mornings at 10 o'clock, and it was completely conversation led by the students. Our tutor was facilitating it, but she barely could get a word in. The students were really talking to each other. In fact, at one point, after an hour and a half, when our leader had to leave, the students stayed on Zoom and just continued. We also have gotten some ideas from programs from our tutors. So one of our tutors had mentioned when she reported her hours, that her student had never had a Rice Krispie treat. So she had sent them the recipe and the ingredients, and they made it together on Zoom. So that gave us the idea for Thanksgiving to do an apple pie making class. So on the Tuesday before Thanksgiving, in advance, we sent the students the list of ingredients and the recipe and a vocabulary sheet. And then we all came on Zoom together and we made apple pies. That was the first time I had ever made an apple pie myself. And it was really a wonderful, wonderful program. And we had a lot of fun. One of our tutors is a huge football fan, and he reported to us that he was teaching his student about American football. That gave us the idea to run a class before the Super Bowl, all about the Super Bowl, how football, the rules of football, to what to bring to a Super Bowl party. And that was really great fun. And again, I personally learned a lot because I don't know anything about football. one student even attended with her teenage son who was really nervous about playing football at the high school. So it's touched a lot of students and different students, I would say. The football program led to a commercials from the Super Bowl program. One of the leaders is a marketing specialist. And so then we had the idea to talk about the commercials from the Super Bowl. So we sent out a video link to the top 6 commercials, and then we got together and we compared them and discussed them. And the students voted on which commercial they liked the best and if they would actually try the product. And again, that was really a lot of fun. And then our latest thing has been a yoga class that we had with some of our students. It was specifically geared to teach them some very simple exercises and de-stressing things that they could do at home. And so that was very successful and the students had a lot of fun. So we think that our conversation groups, like all of our tutoring, are going to continue to be a hybrid once we get back to in-person meetings. We'll probably have some that meet in the library and some that continue on Zoom. And we're going to continue to think of creative ideas that encourage our students to speak English, but also to lead healthy lifestyles and engage with their fellow students. Our drop-in programs are successful because they not only offer our students an opportunity to practice their English, but they offer them a group of friends from all over the world who are experiencing the same difficulties, insecurities, and struggles that they are. And they can only communicate together in their shared language, which is English. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Susan. I want to be in your program too now. How can I arrange this? Maybe if people from other countries are coming to our programs, I can go to one in some other country, I think. I'm going to show some of Susan's pictures while you guys think about what questions you have for her. Let's see if I set this up right.
Susan, I think your ideas are fantastic.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I enjoy hearing them.
Yeah, very inspiring, absolutely.
These are pictures of when the students came by our office to pick up their books for the book club.
There's one thing in the chat. See?
Oh.
Some love for the student newsletter. We do have a link to that in our awards program for tomorrow because one of the Somerset volunteers helps with that, who's getting an award tomorrow. But we could also, maybe we can share a link to that.
That would be great. I love the idea of the student newsletter. Student
It's been
published,
really
yeah.
wonderful. And every time there's a different topic. So for the holidays, they did people's holiday traditions. They did places that people have visited in New Jersey. They did stories of when people got confused by the language. Jessica, are the pictures switching?
They should be, but they're not.
No, it didn't. It didn't switch.
Let's see what happens. Let's see, maybe I set it for like a very long time. Second here. Like 10 minutes each or something, let's see.
And let me just say, Amy Lamb is the director of Somerset Literacy Somerset County, and we do everything together. So even though I kept saying it's really we.
But I have to say that you can't put any idea past Susan that she doesn't say, that sounds great. And then it's done. So Susan really gets all the credit.
Let me see if I can make this work.
Oh, here we go.
Oh, picking up the books.
Right.
I tried to be fancy and that's what happens. I really like seeing, I got to see this with some of the videos, some of the programs submitted for the Innovations Award, but it's really nice to see everyone out in the world doing this stuff, like transferring these books to each other and meeting in parking lots and outside of cars. And like, this is so beautiful, this
Oh, isn't that great?
book club image, yeah. Really lovely. like this is what we usually see inside there. So it's nice to get that perspective from outside too.
Yeah, this is our tutor, Lisa, who ran the apple pie making group.
Yeah, apple pie.
That one looks very professional.
Did they make their own crusts or did you buy the Pillsbury?
No, we bought the crust.
Oh, because that was, I'm like, oh, well overwhelmed. This is beautiful though. Oh, this is great. Cute, Amy.
Amy, did you make the pie or did you just got the apples?
Just got the apples and I'm wearing the same shirt today.
Well, we only have our certain Zoom shirts, all of us, so fair. Okay,
That's it.
nice, thank you.
That's great. That's great. I like that apple pie thing. Yeah,
Yeah, that was great.
that's neat. That's, you know, people, it's so easy to learn when you're having fun. Really, that's great.
I think that these programs, I think people have really saved each other this past year with these things, you know. I mean, as much as you guys have been focused on making sure people learn what they need to know, I know every time, you know, you thank a tutor also says, oh, this saves me too. I mean, I just think for everyone, the loneliness would be too much without all of this.
True. Absolutely.
That's what I've said. I know Antonio spoke about it. We did have a number of tutors, and once again, because we just don't realize what everybody was possibly going through, and they just said, no, you know, virtual is not for me. But then, and that's okay. I get it. A couple of them came back, but then I was also surprised at some of our older tutors. I thought, oh, this is going to be, they want to do it. Are they going to be able to learn Zoom? But I know tutoring is so important to them. And they did, and I'm pleased as punch. I don't know, Janine, can we use that one too?
That's a good one.
Yeah.
It's
That,
music to my ears.
you know, that they have come through and they're doing it. You know, sometimes they have to pop into the library for a little one-on-one of some things, and we are open that you can come in and we have these shields and masks and things that we can help them with, or we have a Zoom session to help them become more familiar. But I've been so pleased that some of our tutors that I thought were going to struggle with it have conquered it.
Susan, one thing I like that you mentioned is I never know who's quite going to show up, except for the beginning, I mean, when they have the individual classes, that's all registered, but the drop-in programs, and you do get students of varying levels. But I look at it this way, when my first teaching job was at New Lisbon Developmental Center, which is way down going to Long Beach Island. And they taught us with the severely and profoundly developmentally delayed, try another way. So with the tutor, it's try another tutor and another explanation, a different slant, a different taint. They can get the idea across better than someone else. So it's worked out quite nicely with that. But yes, having various students of various levels is an issue, but you get through it.
Yeah, I mean, those frustrations, you know, are one thing in general, like what do you get out of it, weighing the cost benefit. But I feel like in this past year, it's so clear what the benefit is. I mean, I just feel like anything you could do to get somebody there, to make it as easy as possible to get somebody there, is worth having to figure out some of that stuff, right? What are there other things you guys have done in other programs that you wanted to share?
Well, we may have discussed this at the last meeting that we had, but we're doing a collaboration with the children's librarian, where she has made cultural pen pals from other countries for the kids, a group of kids. And then what she asked us to do, if we could get a student from one of this group of countries that she has made a program for, if they could come and speak to the kids, not come, but on Zoom, speak to the kids and talk about what it was like for them growing up in that country, going to school, what it was like when they were a child. And our students that we've approached and asked if they would be willing to do that, of course, they were very nervous. You know, I don't speak, nobody thinks they speak English well enough to communicate. But we have had somebody from Korea. She just did a program with the children's librarian this past Monday. Prior to that, we had somebody from Turkey. Obviously, there are a lot of immigrants from Turkey. And she did the program. The one that she first presented to us was so professional and much too long for the children. So we asked her if she could just do a separate one for the children, something simple. And then she and her husband put together this program that we had online on Zoom in the evening. It was probably an hour long. I mean, Turkey is the most beautiful country. The sites that you could see and visit. And they gave a little thumbnail history description as to what, you know, Turkey is basically a new country, a relatively young country. And they talked about the political situation, you know, in very broad terms. Then they had the slideshow and they just discussed each of the sites. It was really incredible. We had tutors and students who logged on. And we really want to continue that because, yes, we do want to have classes. We do want them to learn and have a little bit of structure. But I think just creating a community, creating an opportunity where people can interact with other students, other tutors, just reach out and, you know, make friends, just have contact with people. It was so popular, so well received, and we really want to continue with that. You know, and I'm listening to all these ideas that everybody has, the book clubs, the movie clubs, making an apple pie. I mean, these are all wonderful because I agree with you. Susan, you talked about the loneliness that people have felt this past year and a half, year and more. And just keeping in contact, having opportunities for people to go on Zoom, to speak to people, to hear from other people is very important. I know in the beginning when we were isolated, I would get, and I'm sure this is not unusual, I would get phone calls from people that I don't speak to often, maybe haven't spoken to in over a year, and they would call to see how I was. And that means so much to you. You know, it's like, oh, that person thought enough to call me. And when I would speak and reach out to people that I don't speak to that often, it meant a lot to them. So if we could include our students in this type of interaction, I think it's important.
When I was able to do in-person tutor training, it was always on a Thursday evening because that's the least crowded time at the college. So parking was not as much of an issue. And on Thursday evening, one of our Turkish students was always there with his tutor, and he is a television celebrity and was a television celebrity in Turkey.
Yeah.
He was the equivalent of our Rick Steves, sort of.
Yeah.
And he would come in and talk to the tutors about his experience, and not only his experience coming to America, but his experience in Turkey. And he's been to 100, and he's reported from 160 different countries.
Yeah.
And they always ask him, what's your favorite? But they did, one of the tutors asked, what was the most dangerous country that you ever visited? And he said, anybody want to take a guess?
Afghanistan?
No,
Don't say the United States.
no.
Okay.
Papua New Guinea,
Really?
because apparently there still are tribes there that eat people. Their
Huh?
cannibals still left.
Yeah. Wow.
So he talked about that, and some French missionaries who didn't live quite a long time there. But he worked for the television station, you know, like ABC, CBS, whatever it was. And when the coup happened, they shut down the television station and arrested the manager. And he saw the handwriting on the wall, decided they had to leave. So they became refugees in the United States, or asylum seekers. And he still pops up. I talk to him about once a month.
That's interesting.
Susan, are your student newsletters on the website? I have the link to one. I can I could give everyone from, I think it's number 5.
Susan, you're muted.
Sorry about that. I actually pulled it up. If you want, I could just share the screen and show it.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, does everyone see that?
No, not yet.
It's,
Yeah.
No, you don't see it?
It says you're sharing your screen, but nothing's popped up yet.
It's a black screen with just Susan has started sharing.
Huh.
There.
It is.
Oh, we saw it for a second.
Okay, let me- Now?
No.
No, how did we see it for a second before?
Oh,
There it is.
There it is. There it is.
Oh, okay, great. So you can kind of see. I'll just get to the stories.
Nice.
So Susan, are you asking for input from them? If who would all like in, you give them a topic?
Yes. So the students are doing this completely on their own. They're deciding on the topic, and then they're sending out a letter to the other students, asking them to send in something on the topic with pictures. And then they're putting it together. They just hand it to me, and all I do is email it out.
And this is your student outreach committee.
Yes. And almost all of these students are from our conversation group. So they're really reaching out to the other students in conversation groups. And then we also get it out to our one-to-one tutors to see if their students. This woman wrote a poem.
Oh, wow.
I love this idea.
Yes.
Our outreach committee has a volunteer who heads it up. So we really don't, right, Susan? We don't do anything in the office other than
Right.
Susan gets the email out, which doesn't take very long.
Mm.
But even, when they don't get a lot of submissions, like the student committee asks for submissions and the submissions go to the students. They don't come through us or anything. So they know if they don't have a lot of articles, they'll reach out to more people and twist some arms and get some things written. So
But this was our biggest one yet with 18 articles.
Unbelievable. We've tried having a student's corner on our newsletter, but it's really like arm twisting. People are so shy.
Right.
But I guess having students organizing it and reaching out is a little less intimidating than having the program manager do it. So maybe we should look into that, approaching it from that angle. This is gorgeous.
Susan, how often do you have this published?
Like every 3 months we've been doing it.
Wow.
Is there a chance, would you be willing to share
Yeah.
that, because I would love to maybe either show the tutors or, my colleagues as well, or the students, see what's done? What do you think about something like this?
But
Yeah.
I think that Maureen's right. I think if it's coming from the student, it's definitely helpful, especially because they, these groups of students have gotten to know each other. So they're just bringing in their friends.
Yes.
But yeah, we can definitely share that.
That'd be great. Thanks. I love all the ideas.
Yeah.
it's really exciting.
I really like picturing a kid who's been writing to someone in Korea and maybe doesn't know anyone who's Korean, have someone from Korea show up and start talking to them. I just love that. How exciting that must be.
Yeah,
That's
the
such a
kids
good role for
kids are
students.
loving it, it's a win-win. It really is for the
Yeah.
children's program and for our students. I mean, they're so proud of themselves after they've done that because they never realized they could do that.
Sure. Yeah.
It's good.
Maureen, did you give them a lot of direction on
No, we
like what
said,
to send or-
do we want you to do like a very short program? Perhaps you could bring an artifact from your country, or maybe you could photos of food, popular food from your country. We had a woman who came from Russia, and she had, she brought statues and books and had the whole display laid out on the table and zoomed it for the kids. They just loved it. It's language experience, right? You're talking about what you know. And it's much easier to generate, you know, speech or a little discussion when it's what you know.
I love the idea also that you said that you did the longer presentation with the tutors and students, because that reminded me when we started the student outreach committee, that was something we were talking about. That would be fun to have, like Korean night and, you know, maybe a cooking demonstration, you know, all in our center. And of course it never happened because everything shut down, but maybe that would be really neat to do on Zoom while we can't travel. I mean, it's going to be a while before people are traipsing across the globe anymore. And, you know, our tutors love to travel, and then we could share cultures with each other in a fun way, you know. I like that a lot.
You have a program in the evening. I mean, how many evenings do you say there's nothing on television? You know, hey, yes, there's a fabulous travelogue of Turkey, not by a, you know, somebody who runs a travelogue agency, but by people who live there and experienced it. Talk about it.
Let's create a TV show on YouTube, and we'll all get students to do their different nights. And we'll make like a weekly TV show,
We could actually definitely do that.
right?
See, that's what I mean about Susan.
I was just gonna say that's just what Amy said would happen.
As I was saying it, I was realizing that. But I think we could work on that, definitely.
That'd be great. I would absolutely watch that show if it was our students.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And, you know, once a person puts something like this together, you can show it multiple times. You know, it's the work is done.
Yeah.
The work is done. Yes.
As Susan Wangler says, a podcast. Everybody's, we need to get behind that. Everybody else is doing it. Yes.
Yeah. We could do a podcast. I mean, I love listening to people talk more than watching things. To me, that's like a very much deeper experience, and maybe it would be less scary.
Yeah.
For students. I don't know. But you can't show things.
That's true. That's
you can't show the stuff, and that's really cool, being able to show stuff.
Yeah.
But you know, so many of the students just need to build their confidence, right? And that would just be such an empowering thing for them to do.
It is, I think, Maureen, you made the comment, or I think all of us realize that for the most part, our students speak better English than they say they do.
Yes.
And I say, you keep explaining all this to me in English of how you don't. And so just to build up their confidence and within a controlled setting, you know, a comfortable, non-judgmental kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, we were talking about that at a workshop last night, at Barbara's workshop. We have found that doing our tutor training workshops on Zoom really have been wonderful. And people are contributing and responding. You know, there's a lot more interaction on Zoom than there are sometimes when we're doing the workshops in person. And I said, you know, it's funny, but when you're on Zoom, you don't feel you're being judged. You can make a comment and you're not seeing people's physical expression, you know, their facial expressions, whether they're agreeing with you or disagreeing, or whether they think you sound like an idiot or not. So it's rather freeing. You know, you're just not being judged. You don't have that feeling in the room. Not that the students, you know, the trainees are, you know, rude or anything, but there's just an ease doing it on Zoom.
Sometimes with the trainings, though, some of the tutors don't show their faces, which is very strange.
Oh yeah, no, that hasn't happened to us.
It happened to me once when I did a training for another library, North Bergen. They didn't show their face. It was just very strange in an interaction.
Wow. Yeah, you're talking to a blank wall then, right?
It's very odd. It's unsettling.
Yeah. It wasn't that they were on the phone, were they?
No, because they showed their face, and they put the black screen up. It's just, and they didn't say anything during the entire training. So I'm assuming that they were washing their dishes or their clothing. I don't know. But the director of the library was in the training as well. So I assume this person, I don't remember if it was a man or a woman, did it to show that she was there or he was there, but they didn't participate.
Wow, that's odd.
And I could not coerce them to unveil themselves.
Mhm, mhm. Hmm. Yeah, that definitely changes the whole atmosphere.
It was strange. And it was like an all day, like a Saturday training. And it was kind of brutal.
Oh, wow. Wow. Ah, strange.
Well, we're not going to end on that note.
No.
No offense, but that was upsetting. The person who hid behind their screen during training.
Yeah, it was very odd because you're absolutely correct. You can't see when there's a blank expression, they don't understand something, or they're agreeing with you, or they're reinforcing what you're saying. It was odd. And there was no verbal interaction as well.
Oh,
So
that's
that was even worse.
that's difficult. That's difficult.
I like to hear what you were saying though, Maureen, because that was the fear always about doing things like training online, that you would lose the camaraderie and connection. And, because even before the pandemic, there was a lot of talk about online training and people weren't really that into it, right? So it's kind of exciting that we're now discovering the benefits of it and that it could be, more freeing, or people could be more comfortable like that, because it's certainly more convenient and easier to get people to sign up and show up too, right?
And we didn't have to cancel any of our tutor training workshops because there was a snow day or because the library closed. It was great. Yeah, I thought there would be like a disconnect, doing distance tutoring. And that's not how it worked out at all.
Right.
It's just, I guess everybody was so happy to see another different human being.
Mhm.
And it gave a little variety to your day. So we found them to be very successful.
Yeah.
Mm.
Really good. I'm excited for next year when we get to see how we can use this without, having to do it all the time. We can really take the best of it. I mean, I hope. That's what it's like.
I definitely feel that, using Zoom is going to be integrated into our program. It's not something that's just for the emergency, use. No, we're going to continue to incorporate this into our program.
Yeah, it's really great.
Right. I don't think it's going away.
No.
Or people, their comfort level, I'm not ready to come back. And how do you do the dual, thing so.
I guess what I'm thinking about is I could see the flexibility being very easy to implement with tutoring, because people can just decide, the two of them can decide. And a class you can just, but for like a class, either tutor training or a class that you're offering, do you offer it either as, this time it's all virtual, next time it's all in person, or do you offer it as this class, you can either sit at home and watch it, or you can come to the library and attend, because that seems overwhelming to me. I know the schools are doing it, but I don't know how to do that.
Right.
I'm just going to say on behalf of the teacher I'm married to, who has been doing that since September, it's very hard to do it. And he's been teaching a really long time, and teaching to both at once. It's just like killing him. Like, I don't know how much longer he can stand it, honestly. So I'm not excited about that idea.
Yeah.
At all. Yeah.
I agree. My sister does that, and it just sounds awful. But maybe it's more a combination of, if you have like a 4-week tutor training, the first is in person, and then 2 virtual and 1 in person, maybe something like that.
I could see that.
Yeah, I think that could work. I would think that would work. Because every time we advertise we're having a workshop, I'm sure it happens in every program, people call up, they register. And of course you say, oh, good, we've got like 15, 20 people registered. And of course the night comes and there is always people that drop off. And sometimes it's a transportation issue. Sometimes it's just, they think the weather's not nice enough to go out. So I think that we're definitely going to continue having some that are strictly online, because maybe they would like to tutor that way too. People who I don't want to say housebound, but they have transportation issues. They can't come to the library to tutor. but they would tutor on Zoom, on a private Zoom line, personal
I
Zoom.
think it's going to become more of a hybrid of a little of this and a little of that. And eventually it will settle itself into what works best for everybody.
Yes, yes. Another thing, being able to have tutor training workshops online is that we don't have to worry about who's using the all-purpose room at the library that night. You eliminate that conflict because the libraries are heavily used. The public rooms are heavily used.
Are the libraries allowing that again now?
Not yet.
Yeah.
No. We have, at the Westwood Library, we allow people to come in, a limited number, I think it's 5 people at a time, to browse for a half hour and then leave. Of course, they have, we call it curbside pickup, but we have a vestibule or a foyer, and we have tables there, and people come in, they call up, they check the book out online and come in, pick up. But no, we don't have anybody coming in and sitting at computers or anything like that yet. No programs in the
I
library.
was teaching an ESL class at North Vale. I get I get that whole area
Norwood and North Vale, have no idea.
all mixed up. And then there's Riverdale and Rivervale. And I still don't know the difference. And we obviously stopped in March of last year, but we've been Zooming for a year, and they just closed again because they had a COVID concern. And I don't know if it was a staff, it was somebody that came in, but now I think they're reopening again now. So, but we still do our every Thursday morning, our Zoom ESL from, obviously I'm here and they're in their homes, but we're eventually will go back.
Yeah. I know. Everybody has a different comfort level. My sister lives in Dumont, and she says their library is not open at all for browsing, and you can just request and do curbside pickup. That would be difficult for me, because how do you choose a book? Oftentimes it's by the picture on the cover. Does that, or open it up and read the flyleaf and see, would that story appeal to me?
I do know that Mercer County system is open, I think, one night till 8 o'clock. And I think they're going to open on Monday and Wednesday till 8 o'clock. But the staff goes in normal time, but the public is not in until 2. And then they have those hours that they can come in and kind of browse.
Okay.
So I guess everything, as you said, everybody has to work within their own guidelines and parameters and make what works.
Right. And
I
also,
miss libraries. I can't wait to go browse in a library.
I know, it's awful, right? Yeah, a library is very important. But a lot of times it's not the director who's making these decisions. It might be the town. While our municipal building, the town borough hall was closed, we had to be closed. So it's not always just up to the director.
Maureen, my church is in Westwood, and we had to get permission for in-person worship from your city health department.
You did? Wow. How do you like that? Now, I don't know if my church had that restriction, but I do know that for the holiday masses, you had to make a reservation. There was such a small, limited number of people allowed in the church when they were allowed, when it was not totally closed down. And you have to call and make a reservation that you want to attend a Sunday Mass.
The Episcopal Diocese of Newark did not allow anyone in church.
Yeah.
Well, now they're just starting to
do that.
Limited.
Strange world we're living in now, right? But we're doing it. We're coping with it, and we're getting through it. And people are adaptable.
Oh yeah, that's what this is proving. Yeah.
Yes.
I think everybody is.
Yeah, people are amazing. I think, Rebecca, it was last March when we did that thing for pro literacy, and you said I can't even see everyone right now. Are you still here? Yeah. One of the things you said in our presentation was, let people surprise you. I was thinking about that all year,
That's a great line.
Yeah. Is that what you said?
Yeah, because they were like right and left. I was like, and I think Antonio had said this, or someone had mentioned it, that, or maybe it was Victoria at the beginning, where you would call people up and they said, no, I don't want to teach on Zoom. And then, a few weeks later, they're they're still at home and they're like, I got to do something.
Mhm.
So here I am. What can I do? And then, well, we've got all of this need right now. So I'm going to place you here, and then here's some resources for you, and I can sit down with you and go through this. Yeah. I just think that people were really wanting to be of service at a certain point when they realized they weren't going to be leaving their houses. And yeah, I was just surprised right and left on both sides. Like I would call people up and they say, no, that's not for me. I'm not doing it. And they're still not back. I'm like, that's fine. And then other people who are, I got this one tutor who started out he started on the phone because his computer was so old and he didn't know how to use video chat. And, now he's teaching on Zoom. And I was like, fabulous.
Yeah.
They were inspiring. Absolutely.
Yeah, my 93-year-old father is on Zoom every day.
It's so inspiring. It really is. Okay, I don't want to say wrap it up now, but this is when you want to end it.
I know that's a really nice note. I know. Well, I'll officially say thank you and not pick anyone out. But thank you very much to Victoria and Antonio and Susan for taking the time and putting all that together for us. It's really fun to get hit with that many good ideas at once. I really appreciate your time and that you did this for us, and all of you guys for being here and being part of our conversation.
Yes,
We're in good company in this pandemic, at least.
Some great ideas.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
And please do the eval. I put it in the chat.
I just want to say, I think that the people who didn't sign up for this workshop, this session, they missed out on a lot.
Ah, thank you, Maureen.
This was really wonderful. And it was so good to see all of you guys.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good to see you.
Have a good day. Enjoy the sunshine.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Good
Bye.
weekend.
Thank you.
Bye.
Hi, everyone.
Thanks, Jessica.
Thank you so much, Victoria.
Sure.
Thanks, Antonio.
Thank you.
Thanks, Janine and Idioms with Janine.
Thank you. This was wonderful.